Greetings and salutations, this is Emperor Vespasian and his trusty sidekick.
Hello.
Today we're going to be taking a look at the Chinese officers or Chinese command. As with all armies, you can get a first lieutenant, second lieutenant and then first lieutenant, and then a major and captain. So they all are pretty useful. The first lieutenant gives a +1 to your morale rolls. A first lieutenant gives a +2, and so on and so forth. Each costs a different amount of points, which is just part of the game mechanics of how the game works. And the idea is that you simply add the officer to a unit, or have the officer next to a unit, and he can plus his points, which is okay. And also that he can move a unit with his points as well. For the Chinese army, I've based this command unit up. I have several different ways of doing commands. Generally, the lower ranking commands I base like this with, I put the commands on the same base. So you can't confuse it with other figures. So you've got a guy with a trumpet, the officer with a pistol and a sword, and then you've got a rifleman carrying a flag. Because they were Chinese, the Chinese did use flags, just like the Japanese did and the Russians, so I decided to add a flag just to make it look cool. You don't get many British soldiers charging across the desert carrying a British flag, but... so if I can have a look through my collection here and find you a officer, there you go. That is a Polish officer from the Polish army. And how I generally do it is a first lieutenant you base in a group. You have a couple of adjutants with them because they're more near the front lines, and then the higher ranking officers are based individually because they're a sort of high ranking officer. That's just how we do it at the moment. We may change it, but that's just how it's sorted out. The figures are, as with all the figures from the German Blitzkrieg box set, painted up to look like Chinese. Now with the Chinese army, there is a special rule for the Chinese army, and that is that every single officer gets a bodyguard who will basically accompany the officer, walk around with the officer. That can be quite useful. It's a free figure, so you don't have to spend the 10 or 13 points to increase the size of your HQ, or you can actually make your headquarters a lot bigger. And I thought that was a useful little rule in the army book. So that's really all I have to say on it. As I said, they're based on a nice little base together, so you can't confuse them with the other infantry. And questions?
Did you make the flag, or was it already in the box when you got it?
I made it. The flag pole and the arms holding the flag pole are from the Japanese box set. I use the same Japanese arms for the Russian flags as well. So it's that flag, but I made a flag and painted it. So this flag's just painted on. It's a standard Chinese nationalist flag, used by China during this particular period. Communist troops use the communist flag. The flag is the rising sun, or the sun. China and Japan both use the sun as the rising sun as a depiction.
China used the sun already risen, and Japan used the rising sun.
Yeah, so they both use the sun for different, for the same reasons. It's part of their culture. So yeah, there you go. You could argue that Britain does, and most Western countries, but that's it. I mean, if you look at the British flag, it is an amalgamation of multiple flags put together to make the British flag. So it's got the English flag, and it's got the Scottish flag, and the Irish flag, the other flag, and then we put them all together, and it makes a Union Jack. And with the Chinese, the nationalist Chinese, they're using the symbol of the empire. We used to have a dragon chasing a sun. the sun would be over the head of the dragon, and so they're just using the sun on the back of the red flag with the army denotations down the side, which is quite cool. That's it. That's all I have to say on that.
Next question, last question.
Yeah.
How did you make the flag, the Japanese flag, look like that? Like it was actually like real.
Like it's all folded. It's actually tissue paper.
Is it?
Yep, that is tissue paper. You can see it better like that, and it's got the flagpole attached to it that's broken. It's just get the tissue paper, make it into a flag shape, make it wet, soak it in glue, and then just put it on and just squish it around so it looks like a real flag that's fallen to the floor. So it gives you that sort of cotton effect on the flag, and it's all dirty and trodden on. There's a little footprint there, and it just looks cool. I like that. Because they're trampling the Japanese flag as they charge forward. Just looks good. Next question?
That's all.
That's it? Oh, right. That was a quick video.
I thought it was all of them.
Yeah, so that is the command unit. They've got the army designation on their shoulder, on their arm, and that's basically it. I think it looks quite cool. So, in order to do this, I needed the Japanese box and the Chinese and the German box, because the trumpet is from the Japanese box, the flag's from the Japanese box. So I did sort of use two different things. The sword, the Dao, which is the sword he's got in his hand, I had to scratch build because you can't get them. So I made it, which was not too easy to do. And you can see it there.
I imagine it won't.
Yeah, swords were used by the Japanese and the Chinese. They were used a lot more in combat by them. And they are useful things to have in close combat. And there was a lot of close combat, so it is useful to have. So that's it. That's the end of the video. I will go over to you now for your ending.
So if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe, and comment down below what questions you have for this command, and Impact Space will answer it himself.
Oh, you will?
Maybe.
Okay.
That's it from me.
And that's everything from him. Good day.